Welcome to the show.
Hi, Nitin. It's good to be here. Really excited.
Wonderful, wonderful, Colton. We're excited to have you on as well, and I think our viewers would would love to learn from your experience shares. So I'm thrilled. So Colton, as we get started, for our viewers who may not be familiar with you, could you please take a few minutes to introduce yourself and tell everyone about your background and what you do?
Yeah, Colton Fredy, Consumer Insights Manager with Select Health. Been with the company, going on 5 years now. Really love it over here. I have a really diverse background, I'd say. Started out in the military, had a lot of fun there working on airplanes, got out, have a couple degrees focusing on information systems and business with a really deep focus in data analytics and modeling. I'm not a data scientist, but I can hold a conversation with them. At least I think I can. Maybe they don't, but I think I'm pretty good there. And then had some time in health and wellness. I have actually a really big passion for it, helping people engage in these products. Because like almost all health insurances have a wellness product, but they predominantly aren't engaged in due to different barriers that you can really understand through consumer journey mapping. Um, After that, really focusing on marketing and really supporting marketing now. And that's what I'm currently doing and been doing for a while, is really helping marketing understand our target consumers and speak to them in better ways.
So, Colton, thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. Um, when your leadership comes to you and says, great job, what are they typically counting on you for?
I think I could summarize that in basically decision support through data. And it's a specific type where we're looking for insight over just reporting numbers. You can summarize that with the why behind the data. There's many companies that are collecting massive amounts of data. There's some companies that are even more advanced and they're displaying that data in many different aspects using PowerPoints, Tableau, etc. But there's not a lot of people that can really take that data, summarize it, and then speak it, turn it to business terms, essentially. And that's really providing the why behind the data with a focus on the customer and what they need and why they're struggling. And one of my favorite things that I like to look at and try to bring an understanding is outside interactions of the company, because one of the things I like to say is the price of bread, milk, and eggs does impact health insurance buying decisions. We live with limited resources, and it's not like we're Apple, we're not iPhones, we're not sexy. People often have us because they need us. And with that in mind, we have to find different ways to give them value. And that's through the consumer journey understanding, backed by data, all mashed together into this is the why behind the data.
Colton, I couldn't agree more with you, especially your focus on the why. I think that is so critical. As researchers, a lot of times, especially when we are guiding and coaching and consulting with clients, a lot of times our clients are interested in, hey, let's talk about the how. How are we going to execute on this project, right? And as researchers, we often get excited about the new shiny tool on the block. These days it's AI, right? And before that it was something else. And that's all great. Focusing on the how is important, but like you said, focusing on the why, I feel is so strategically important. The questions we coach our clients on, Colton, is why are we doing this project? What's at stake? What's driving this? How will this move the needle? What does the end deliverable, what does it need to look like? How will leadership, internal stakeholders, external stakeholders, what would make them say that this project is a success, right? Because it's only when you can really crystallize the why, you can then make sense of the data and helping connect the data to that why. So I felt I just wanted to underline for our viewers, I didn't want people driving by quickly with the goal you just laid out for them on why, what's the importance of understanding the why.
No, I think it really paints, like you said, paints a picture and it connects. It connects departments, and that's another thing that I really like with it is because we're used to working in silos quite often. I think there's no secret that the industry is very siloed, and when you can connect that common why behind things, it really helps. And it really, in my experience, has helped the adoption of consumer journeys, as we've struggled in many aspects to get the idea of journey mapping adopted, because quite often we took it too high level essentially. And I know we can get into that later, but definitely that why has really helped us, glue a lot of things together and help really drive the impacts of what we're doing.
Absolutely. And, this is a big passion of ours. And I want to add just one more comment to that, Colton, for our viewers. Uh, when you focus on understanding the why, and by you, I mean our general audience, our viewers, what we coach our clients on is look at the why from a few different perspectives. The first is, okay, so what's at stake from a business impact standpoint, right? Why are we doing this? How is it going to move the needle for the business? Our customer experience is going to improve? Is satisfaction going to go up? Is marketing going to be more efficient? Are sales going to improve? Whatever it is, right? That's the business impact. What we also guide our clients is then try to connect the dots to the financial impact, right? So if sales go up, well, that's easy. Well, how much are we expecting, as a function of this work? Or any research work for that example, if the end goal is to drive sales. Be clear on, is the expectation that this is, leadership has a goal that we want sales to go up by 10%. What does that mean in dollars in your world? If leadership expects marketing to become more efficient, campaigns to become more efficient, well, what does that translate into metrics? And again, what's the financial impact of that on the business? If customer experiences need to improve, well, then, how are we measuring that improvement? Is it an NPS? Is it in some other, scale ratings? How much are we expecting it to improve as a function of this project? Those end objectives, whether financial or any other metrics, those need to be crystallized.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, something that I often see clients miss is the personal impact, right? If an internal stakeholder or an external stakeholder or customer is driving the need for a project, well, okay, if we deliver on this, if we spend our time, money, resources acting on this, doing this, is it going to impact them personally? And that is so critical, Colton, because if we're able to connect the business, the financial impact to the personal impact, well, then what happens is you don't have to fight the good fight when the project's done in pushing people to move and adopt the changes and the insights that we've completed. People become champions of the work because they know that not only is this going to move the needle, from a business and financial standpoint, but it's also going to move the needle for them personally.
Mm-hmm. No, 100% agree. We're all customers usually of our health insurance products, and we design solutions to make our members' lives better, and it does impact us for the better quite often. Couldn't agree more.
Correct. So, Colton, coming back to the work that you do in helping your teams improve customer experiences, can you please talk a little bit about in your everyday life, what are some of the challenges that your stakeholders come to you with, and how do you help them?
It's a good question. I'd say some of the biggest things are, getting people access to the information they need. Health insurance is very complicated. I don't think anybody probably has it figured out yet, honestly, in many aspects, just due to all the complications. One of the things we continually run into is, well, why don't people care? Going back to that why. And it's not that they don't care per se, it's just that they often haven't had an experience that's driven that care. And that's, when you're talking about health insurance and health, that's probably a good thing. So we continually run into timing issues. If you consider, I like to, put a face to the data. So if you consider, you're a single mom, you have 3 kids, you're tired, you maybe have 2 jobs, the last thing you want to do is interact with your health insurance at 11 p.m. at night. But you probably have to because your kid might be sick and you just got a bill and all this. You've gone through the care journey. Well, you have questions now. And how do you get access to those questions? Well, in the perfect world, they would have already known all the answers they needed because all health insurances pretty much have a developed onboarding program. But how many people actually read their plan benefits when they get them at the beginning of the year? They often don't because they just don't need to, because it doesn't matter at that time. And so you end up with these people that need service at a time that's equivalent to them. But you can't really, it's hard to tell that timing because it's based on so many things outside the business's control. Like I said, the cost of milk, bread, and eggs. Was the carpool late today that delayed you? All these different things impact our limited resources as we're moving through life. And so one of the ways we can get around that is to design strategies that are fully self-service. Well, now the information is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But are those journeys to get to those different things, are they good? Can people actually effectuate getting to the correct information? And quite often the answer is no. So then it goes back to the second key strategy that we're constantly trying to help upper level decision makers and improve customer experiences. I look at it like this example. When you call your grandma an Uber, do you ask the Uber to drop grandma off down the road and hope she makes it down the block to your house? Or do you ask the Uber to drop you right at the front door? And that's the key there is we are designing and trying to design solutions that drop grandma off right at the front door and not expecting her to be able to navigate her way down the road. And so you combine that with, overcoming timing and better solutions. The hope is that overarchingly people are happier finding better value in their health plan, even if they are healthy themselves and don't interact with us much.
That's such a wonderful experience share, Colton. Thank you so much. I want to double click on a couple of things that you said, so that again our viewers can pick up the goal that you laid out. What I heard you talk about, Colton. I mean, in that example, you've really highlighted the power and the importance of these key moments,
Mhm,
or what we call in the journey vernacular, the moments of truth.
mhm,
In this experience, these moments of truth are so important. And the reason why they are, I want to share this with our audience because you know this, Colton. But these moments of truth, as you know, are they're so transformative,
mhm,
right? And what I mean by that is, if you don't pay attention to these key moments, like you talked about the mom with the kids who doesn't really want to, who doesn't have the energy or the time to go
mhm,
spend with a provider when she's got other priorities. I mean, that's a key moment of truth,
mhm,
right, in your business. And if you don't address it as a provider, as an organization, um, the guidance that we like to give our clients is always remember that the customer is not part of your journey as a business, but
mhm,
you are part of the customer's journey. And so if you don't address that pain point or that moment of truth for the customer's buying journey will not stop.
mhm,
They're just going to go into the next stage holding someone else's hand, most likely your competitor, that is doing a better job of addressing that moment of truth, that is doing a better job of not letting that moment of truth get converted into a pain point.
mhm,
Uh, and that's the power of these moments of truths, as you know, Colton. If you focus on them, if you address them correctly, then they transform into a peak point for
mhm,
you, right? And that is when the customer goes on into the next stage of their buying journey, holding your hand, ignoring a competitor. And that's really the story of how market share and customer experiences are optimized, right?
mhm. No, I 100% agree. And really, the way we try to find these moments of truth and dive in is we talk to our customers. We try to do our best to talk to our members and all that because, the insight when we focus, like you said, on the how so often, and with our scope of how, with the limits that we've often had as we've come up in business, we may not consider that a rural member has to drive an hour and a half to get care. Because for us, we live in a city and have never experienced that ever. And so that's why I think, like you said, you're finding the moments of truth, and really the only way we can get to them, in my opinion, really is to have those conversations to form that deeper level of understanding as we're chopping down all the issues throughout the consumer journey.
Yes, absolutely. That's perfect, Colton. On that note, let me then ask you, in terms of your, the work that you've been doing, could you talk about any examples of customer journey work? Help our viewers understand what was driving the need for this type of work, how you executed upon it, and what are the typical benefits that you got or you expect to get from this type of work?
Makes sense. One of the biggest things we're going through is trying to connect all the data right now so we can then measure all these different points. As you talked about before, you have to measure it and you have to have a goal. And if you don't measure it, you don't have a goal. So as we're trying to do all this, we're connecting all these different data pieces, because as we tried to develop consumer journeys with other projects, for instance, we did look at the marketing consumer journey all the way from about awareness through mid-funnel and then whether they buy or not. And one of the issues we ran into is it was such a high-level journey encompassing so many moments of truth across so many departments that we really struggled to gain buy-in and use of the journey. Just flat out, people have a hard time operating outside of their scope because we're busy, we just really are. So we tried to do that. We tried to mix it with process mapping and things like that. And what happened was it got too high level is one of the issues we ran into. And so we've really tried to dive it in and figure out these different key moments based on the data that we're connecting. We're starting out, for instance, one of the biggest things that we've identified is everybody goes through a care journey usually at some point. I would like to start with wellness because I've got a passion there, but even less people engage with wellness. So you look at the care journey and you start connecting all the data. And we'll just take a little piece of the care journey because that's one of the things we've really discovered. We need to simplify and dive in the journey at the points we are looking at in the journeys. Because again, you get too complicated, it becomes too amorphous, people lose the why. And you look at someone trying to find care. They either are going to call your member services directly or they're going to go online, hopefully predominantly. If they go online to find a doctor, they're going to have a successful outcome or they're going to have an unsuccessful outcome. They still need the care, so they're going to call your member services. So through two of those three things, you end up with like extra costs. And so you kind of want to avoid those because then it goes back to better experiences because you're self-serving in better ways. And then you have cost saving for the business because you're avoiding human interactions. And so as we're developing this, our lesson was, well, we can design an entire research program off of just these three paths. Why are people going to the website over calling member services, or why are they just straight calling member services? And then once they get to the website, why are they failing or succeeding? And so we've used just that little piece to design actually quite a few different solutions and implement new tools. And we've had to change some vendors, et cetera, strategy changes. But it's really helped. And I believe it's really going to revolutionize the way our consumers are interacting and doing a very pivotal thing, which is finding a doctor and being confident that that doctor or provider is in their network. If you do interviews, quite often a struggle they have is confidence that they chose the right thing. Whether that's, again, confidence at the very beginning, they chose the right plan. One of the things we were looking at, we're trying to understand the marketing measurement journey, or confidence that they're trying to find the right provider and their providers in network, and that when they go there, they're not going to get an unexpected bill. So that's like really the biggest two things that we've looked at is that marketing measurement and that little piece of the care journey, just because we learned a lot from marketing measurement, which really influenced how we started to look at the care journey.
That's a great example, Colton, and thank you for sharing that. It talks your example presented, the challenge and the benefits really crisply. So I appreciate that. I know we're almost at the end of our time, but I wanted to ask you one final question. If you had the opportunity to redo this one or to do a different customer journey mapping project, are there any improvements or anything that you would do differently?
Like I said, the one would definitely be simplification, diving in and making sure you're solving each point of the journey, each moment of truth as you go, not trying to solve too many moments of truth with one at one time. Because one of the things that I'd find out, you can solve one moment of the truth and it kind of alters how the next one can be looked at or dealt with because you've given them better information, hopefully earlier on. Additionally, I would say, probably a hybrid approach, because one of the things we tend to focus on, at least in my experience, is focusing too much either on just the consumer, which is a little bit less of a problem, or focusing way too much on the internal processes. And taking a hybrid approach of, hey, this is the consumer, this is how they're moving, they start to interact with us. Like you said, we're on their journey. How do they interact with us? All these different internal components to really drive the why and help the business understand why, because it's a little hard to attach to outside influences. And then move through to design full comprehensive solutions that, like I said before, are delivering grandma to your front door, not expecting her to find it. Because you can design a sweet, solution that says, hey, it only takes 3 clicks to get to the answer, but you're still assuming that your end consumer knows where to click those 3 things, instead of trying to guide them and designing a solution that will just deliver them there, hopefully 80% of the time, because, we're just trying to solve 80% of the problems, not 100%.
Wonderful, wonderful, Colton. I think that's a great way to wrap this up. Thank you so much for sharing your words of wisdom and your excellent experience shares. I'm sure our viewers will pick up a lot of gold that they can act upon, or at least it'll get them thinking about how they can be solving similar challenges in their businesses. So thank you again for your time.
It was a pleasure, Nitin. Thank you as well. Hope you have a great day.